Welcome to the Dr. Mudgil podcast. This is episode 92. We are wrapping up August pretty soon here. My kids are starting school next week. I can't believe it. I mean, I don't know. In New York, we usually never start at school before Labor Day, but for some reason, the last few years, our school district has been starting the week before Labor Day. So my kids are obviously not psyched about what next week brings, but such is life. This summer is coming to an end. It was a great summer. We still have a little bit left of it to squeeze any remaining juice out, and I'm sure my kids are going to try to do as much of that as humanly possible. But this podcast is going to be a hashtag Thoughts of the Week style podcast. It's actually inspired by a segment I saw on SportsCenter on ESPN while I was working out. And it was a segment about GENO Smith, and I'll talk about him in a minute. But really, this podcast is all about self-belief and how important self-belief is. And it kind of picks up from a podcast I did a few weeks ago when I was speaking about my daughter and, a little lull she had in competing in horseback riding, which she brilliantly snapped out of. And that was more of a podcast about positive thinking and positivity. This is going to kind of piggyback off of that a little bit. So I'm just going to get right into it. So GENO Smith, for those of you who aren't aware, is a quarterback in the NFL. He's the quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks, and he's had kind of like a long story in the NFL. He was drafted in 2013 by the Jets. He was the 39th overall draft pick. He was picked in the second round as a quarterback, and he started for the Jets for a couple of years, got injured, and they ended up just kind of being a backup quarterback for a while. He was a backup quarterback for 4 different teams over the span of 7 years. And then last year, he was named as the starting quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks. And he had an amazing year. He had a brilliant year. And he actually won the NFL Comeback Player of the Year, which is an amazing award to win. And, throughout the course of the season, everyone was really just very skeptical of him being the starting quarterback for the Seahawks. So, why would you pick this guy? He's been kind of, a backup quarterback for so long. And, he had incredible self-belief. He never doubted himself. He was anointed the starting quarterback position, and he excelled at it and really kind of surprised a lot of folks. And in one of his post-game interviews, he was actually asked, do you have anything to say to your naysayers? And he had this great quote. He said, they wrote me off. I ain't never right back, though. And I love that line, so it just, to me, highlighted the power of self-belief. And when I kind of dig into this a little bit, it really touches on a lot of the things that I've spoken about on my platform over the last few years. It's about visualization. It's about setting smart goals, self-belief, working hard, auditing your circle, all of those things. And, when I heard that quote, they wrote me off. I ain't write them back, though. It really reminded me so much of all of those things. And I thought it was something important to talk about, particularly as the youngsters out there are getting ready to embark on a new academic year. Also, those of you in college, med school, that sort of thing. It's the beginning of a new year. Residents, interns, your next year just started about 6 weeks ago or so. So it's a beginning for many of us, and it's important to start the beginning off with some positive thoughts, which hopefully will motivate you and inspire you to do your best. So when setting a goal, there's basically 3 key parts of this. So the first is visualization. The second part is self-belief. And the third part is actually the work that goes into achieving a goal. So when you visualize something, so GENO Smith, when he came into the NFL, I'm sure visualized being an amazing quarterback, having an amazing, career, maybe ending in the Hall of Fame and that sort of thing. But things didn't necessarily work out that way for him, right? He got hurt. He was a backup quarterback. And then he had this amazing year in his 9th season as a quarterback, which almost never happens. So to sustain him, during all of that time, he needed to have incredible self-belief. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But the first step is the visualization. And visualization is all about setting smart goals. So for GENO Smith, who was, an outstanding quarterback in college, came into the NFL, it was quite appropriate for him to visualize being an amazing quarterback in the NFL. For him, that was a smart goal. It was, so SMART is an acronym. It's specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely, right? So I always kind of try to tie things back into my own journey. So, when I started my practice in New York City, my goal was to become a top doctor in New York City, because if you're a top doctor in New York City, you're a top doctor in the world. For me at that time, that was a smart goal. It would not have been a smart goal for me to say, I want to be a starting quarterback in the NFL or be an NBA player or that sort of thing, because, that's not what my skill set is. My skill set was in medicine. And for me, becoming a top doctor in New York City over a 5-year period was a smart goal. It was specific, it was measurable, it was attainable, it was relevant, it was timely. So the first step is visualizing yourself doing whatever it is that you want to do, whatever your goal is. So another thing for me was getting into shape. I was a skinny fat for the bulk of my life, and I visualized myself as being a fit person. And that's part of it. So that was, again, it was a smart goal. It was specific, it was measurable, it was attainable, it was timely, and it was relevant and timely. So for Geno Smith, he set this goal for himself, right? And he visualized it. But, there were some bumps in the road, and, he had some setbacks. He was a backup quarterback, etc. But then the self-belief part of this is so important, right? Like, you have to be your own biggest cheerleader and your own biggest fan. And if the goal you visualize for yourself is a smart one, so that means it is truly attainable for you, then self-belief is what's going to carry you there. It's what's going to carry you through the tough times. It's going to carry you through the setbacks. So one of the things Geno Smith said in this interview was he always considered himself a starting quarterback, even when he was the backup quarterback. So he would study film. He would study the playbook. He would hit the weight room. He would do all of the things that a starting quarterback would be expected to do. And he did it with that same level of intensity as a starter would. He was always at the ready. He believed that an opportunity would present itself at some point, and that because of his self-belief and the preparation that went into that, he would be able to pounce on that opportunity and excel, which is exactly what he did. Now, another part of self-belief is something that I talk about a lot, is surrounding yourself with like-minded people. You want to surround yourself with people who motivate you and inspire you. You want to audit your circle. You want to let folks who are negative kind of filter them out, filter what they're saying out, and really focus on folks who are aligned with you. So, to bring it back to like my own personal journey and why this story with Geno Smith resonated to me so much, when you're trying to get fit, particularly when you're trying to put on muscle, there are periods where like you're bulking up and then you're cutting down, then you're bulking up, and you're cutting down. It's like this endless cycle, but ultimately to kind of like get bigger and bigger and leaner as years go on. At least that's my personal goal. So there'll be times where like, you're bulking up and, folks will say, no, you don't look good like this, but you look better when you're leaner, or vice versa. You're so lean now, you look better when you're bigger. But the truth is, I never really let that get into my head, because I believe in the process. I believe in what I'm doing. And the people that I listen to are folks that I admire and who motivate me, who have already accomplished what I hope to accomplish. And, this is the exact same thing that they do. They go through periods where they're bulking, then they lean down, they bulk up, they lean down, but ultimately they're climbing that ladder of getting bigger, more muscular, and leaner. And, you have to trust the process and align yourself with people and listen to people who've been there and done that. So I'm sure a big part of Geno Smith's journey was talking to folks who were in his position and who came out of it and excelled. He wasn't to talk to people who were, backup quarterbacks and then just let their career kind of dwindle because they lost that self-belief and they stopped working towards their goal and all that sort of stuff. He was listening to folks he audited his circle, and he was listening to his folks that were aligned with what his goals were. And that is so important. Sometimes the folks that are closest to you will be folks that are kind of knocking you down, almost like an evil eye. And you have to audit that out of your circle. Align yourself with like-minded people who are motivated and who inspire you. That's a very, very, very important part of maintaining your self-belief and achieving goals, however lofty they may be. And then the third component is work. Like, anyone who's amazing at anything puts a shit ton of work into it. I mean, you look at folks like who are kind of at like the endish part of their career, like LeBron James, Steph Curry. These guys are probably working harder now than they did when they entered the league. You just see their workouts, you see what they're doing in the off season, the crazy amount of training that they do. Steph Curry's like pre-game, warm up, all this stuff. It's incredible how much work goes into the excellence that they have. And you can't escape hard work, So yeah, you can visualize something and you can believe in yourself, but if you're not putting that work in, you're not going to get anywhere. And this is something that I talk about a lot. Focus on getting the daily win that's going to get you one step closer to your goal, because those small daily wins add up very big as time goes on. And you have to hold yourself accountable and get that daily win. Like I've mentioned before, my daily wins are multiple. I have personal daily wins, which is my fitness and my nutrition, telling my wife I love her, my kids, I love them. I have professional wins that I need to get done every day, reading my slides, seeing my patients, all of those things. It's probably like 5 or 6 daily wins that I need to hit every single day, but I will not go to sleep unless I get that small daily win that's going to get me one step closer to whatever my larger goal may be. And that's exactly what GENO Smith did. He was studying the playbook. He was hitting the weights. He was watching film. He was doing all of the things that all of the great NFL quarterbacks have done over the span of the NFL. All the Tom Brady's and, all of the great football players, whether they're quarterbacks or playing some other position, they all do the same thing. They watch film, they know the playbook inside and out, and they're working out, hitting the weight room. So I was incredibly inspired by GENO Smith's story. I'm always inspired by stories of greatness. I love comeback stories. I love stories of resilience. And GENO Smith's story very much embodies all of the things that I admire in a human. I hope this weekend brings you this gives you some reflection, helps you align your goals, helps you visualize whatever your goals may be, inspires some self-belief for you to achieve those goals, and inspires you to put the work in that it takes to achieve goals, however lofty they may be. So with that, I wish you all a wonderful, restful weekend. I hope you're ready to crush the week ahead. Let's get it.